It's Wednesday, which means it's time to talk to Adam Chernoff from Right Angle Sports. I can assure you this is the very last piece of Halloween candy in the house. The
Wow.
very last Reese's. We made it 2 weeks. I'm going to eat this while you talk about the wild card teams. You were talking about this on your show today. You feel like you have the wild card teams basically figured out at this point, huh?
I do, but hold on. Like, you go 2 weeks here. What was the stockpile? I got you mid-chew. That's okay. I'm curious to know stockpile. I'll give you wild card teams while you chew. Eating on air. We're reaching extreme levels here. AFC Chargers, Bengals, Steelers. NFC Packers, Commanders, Vikings is how I see the wild card teams shaping down. I don't think there's anything too crazy in there. I was looking for a path for Seattle. I do think the Seahawks play very well down the stretch. I don't know if they can overcome the deficit against Washington. The difference in schedule there is pretty significant. And that was kind of the one team on the fringe that I was looking at that I was unsure. I know the Broncos not included in the AFC spots. I do think the Bengals are able to overcome them and get into that wild card spot over them. I think the Broncos to date slightly noisy in what they've produced. And so with that said, break down the stockpile for me. 2 weeks of candy. That's pretty extreme at the rate I'm assuming you're sneaking them during the day.
200 pieces. The problem, nobody rang the doorbell. Nobody. Didn't have one person ring the doorbell. So I've just been pounding candy for 2
What's
weeks.
causing the decrease in enthusiasm for trick-or-treating?
I think busy street doesn't help. That
does not help.
certainly,
Sure.
that
Cars,
negates the
accidents, night,
excitement.
yeah.
But I don't know. Do kids even care anymore? I guess not. I don't know.
I remember having to suit up with the parka and the jacket under the costume to get out there, and it was a battle because it was so cold. Now that's not even a thing anymore. We're getting
I used
old,
to
Sam.
fill pillowcases with candy.
Oh
Not
yeah,
one.
remember the trading post trick or treating?
Yeah, you can keep all the Almond Joy, and then I'll just take everything else.
But what the Almond Joy slander seems undeserving as well. Great chocolate.
Those are dog shit. Don't stop with the Almond Joy.
I'm not saying it's like elite category, but who doesn't love tropical flavors and coconut mixed with chocolate? I mean, it's a perfect match.
Speaking of dog shit, let's go to this game. 451, 452. Of course, I'm talking about the Chicago Bears. This got bet. I mean, we did see it run. It was 2.5 on the look ahead. Got up to 6.5. Those are all gone. There's one stale 6. Everybody else is 5.5. I was hoping to get 7. That will never happen. So it sounds like I will just stay off the game. You have a lot of thoughts on Chicago.
I do. Anytime you see a game move when one team doesn't play, look ahead to reopen this much. It's always typically indicative of a bye coming back against the move, and we've seen that so far, and it's probably fueled a bit by the new coordinator bump. It's a spot that I typically love to bet into. Did it last week with the Saints. Would kind of expect myself to have been on this here with the Bears. I have two kind of negatives against this. The first is that the excitement about Thomas Brown happened last year. I was part of it when he took over in Carolina. They got the 1-game bump from him, but it wasn't good otherwise. And I wonder if coming into this situation where you have multiple offensive linemen hurt, you have all of these rumors about the vets perhaps not wanting Williams to start. There's been clear evidence of defensive quit on that side of the field. Brisker's already ruled out. They're ruling out defensive linemen. There's so many negatives with the Bears right now that are not just speculative matchups. Well, they don't look good against this part or that part. It's like there's serious potential issues here with the Bears that kind of make me want to stay away from this. And so it's a weird spot where I'm not running to bet against that big move out of the bye when the Packers didn't even play.
Yeah, and I'm trying to stay even keel because I'm from Chicago, and every Bears fan I know is texting me this week about betting the 401k on the Packers. And that's almost getting me there, but I don't really want to be there, if that makes any sense, you know? Like, I don't want to fade just to fade.
Sure, you're right.
You got 2 plays. Let's start with this one, 469 and 470. That's Kansas City and Buffalo.
Injury news for this game is going to have an impact. It looks like Dalton Kincaid has a legitimate chance to miss. It looks like Smith-Schuster could be back for the Chiefs. You have already news with Keon Coleman for Buffalo, who's going to be banged up. And this is the Chiefs defense all season. It's been way better against the run than expected. And that's really become the strong point of the Bills offense so far to date, especially with some of these injuries. And this game in this market looks and feels a lot like the Chiefs 49ers did a few weeks ago. And it's being talked about in the same way that the Chiefs and 49ers were talked about a few weeks ago. And the fact is, in these big games, as much as the Chiefs might be being outgained on a weekly basis in yards per play, they just are finding ways to manufacture points. And while I usually look at that as a bit of an outlier, I have to look past that with Reed and Mahomes, who are finding a way and getting a little bit healthier. I'm curious to see at left tackle, does Donovan Smith get added to shore things up with the injury to Morris? We'll see how that plays, but that could also be a bit of a stabilizing factor. I look at this and can't help but feel like it's gone too far for the Bills. And so as square as it might be, I like the Chiefs here. I think the fair price we're looking at is 2. I know you're going to advocate for 2.5, but for the sake of the record, we'll go KC plus 2.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, there are 2.5s readily available.
Yes.
A lot of you bet these rec books. You've got it at BetMGM. You've got it at FanDuel. If you're in Vegas, you have all kind of 2.5. But Adam will take 2 with 469 Kansas City. And then your second game is 455 LA Rams at New England.
Well, we go back to the Bears game last week, and with 9 sacks conceded by a banged-up offensive line and a defense that has been showing several signs of quit for the last 3 weeks, that all of this so far leading to at least one coach being fired. We'll see if there's more in weeks to come. That made the New England Patriots look a lot better than they actually are. Last week on Monday Night Football, we saw the Rams play a Dolphins team with a lot of questionable decision-making, to say it lightly, in the second half that probably made that Rams offense look a little bit worse than it is typically. And also that Rams defense quietly improving week after week as well. And so this, to me, looks like a spot that we didn't see much of an adjustment. It's the Pats off the win, a Rams team off of a loss. We got a pretty reasonable price here to lay 4.5 with the Rams as a favorite on the road. The last time we opposed the Pats on the show, Sam, that was as painful of a push as I have experienced in years. So a little bit of revenge on deck here to get one back from that team.
I like a 2-0 sweep for you this Sunday. I really do.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. If you're signing me up for that now, I'll take it.
All right, Candy out. See ya.
See you, Sam.